Hey, this is Rasbane with Role Playing Public Radio. This is RPPR episode 178, Heists 101. We're going to be talking about how to plan a heist as a player character in a role-playing game, because I've noticed a lot of players over the years in the mini games that I've played have a tougher time planning a heist, and we'll get into what we mean by a heist versus a straight up, dungeon crawl, eliminate every monster in this hex or grid tactical map. So we have Caleb and Birk here as guests.
Hello.
Hello.
And so in terms of news, we don't have much, but Night Clerk Radio, we have an upcoming episode with Caleb as our guest to talk about one album, a double-length album that is very appropriate for especially Caleb to be talking about, and me. So,
that was 5 months ago.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Oh my God. Jesus.
Feels like forever.
I think I entered Carcosa when I listened into that album, and I'm just now realizing it. It makes a lot more sense than the world today does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least Carcosa is, it's more consistent. You know what you're getting in Carcosa.
At least they have an aesthetic. I'll give them that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice aesthetic as opposed to
the architecture is nicer.
Yeah, better than strip malls and spreadsheet architecture.
Better music.
So also, my book, Zombies of the World, has been reprinted by Andrews McMeel. It is now out. Please consider buying a copy. It's a lovely hardcover printing. You can to give it away as a gift. Please also review it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy it from. You can get it at all major bookstores. I deeply appreciate it, and of course reading about zombies is just a pleasant distraction from reality. So
you bought his book once,
why
not buy it again?
Or if you didn't buy it last time, here's a new entirely new chance to buy it.
Beautiful hardcover.
And so, but the genesis of this episode came from Caleb and I were talking about what kind of games he'd want to play, and you mentioned Blades in the Dark as like your top choice. So I could run. So my goal is to hopefully do like a short Blades in the Dark campaign this summer while Caleb is still available as a player on a regular basis. So we'll be trying to organize that soon.
We'll see how school goes, or if there's school, or if there's internet or electricity by then.
So we haven't recorded any games yet, but we'll try and do session 0 soon, and then start recording them. And of course, my policy is try and get an entire campaign recorded before I post any of them. But again, we'll see how that goes. But I've been running a lot of heist themed games lately, mostly sci-fi ones. I did do Scum and Villainy, and then also my Eclipse Phase campaign was criminal focused. And so and heists are fun, at least as a GM running them, and especially using the Blades in the Dark system. But you can run a heist in pretty much any role-playing game system. It's as it is just a type of plot, a type of procedural conflict to resolve. But since war games are derived from war games and not, stealth games, there seems to be a little disconnect between a lot of players between how to do a heist versus how to, siege a castle, clear a dungeon, kill a boss. And so I guess we should start with Caleb. What would you define a heist, at least in terms of role-playing games? What is a heist versus like a dungeon crawl or kill the boss or find, that kind of thing?
For me, in terms of a role-playing game, I would define a heist as trying to secure some objective, be it MacGuffin or achieving something, from a hardened target in which some sort of tactical creativity or some sort of trickery or stealth is required. So I think that in terms of a role-playing game, due to the murder hobo-ness of a role-playing game, the idea of a heist is that you have to have a challenge that cannot be killed to death. Unlike, we just wiped out the dungeon, we just did that. You need a challenge that needs some element of creativity and planning and tactical awareness, because the players are outnumbered, or killing everyone won't get you the thing, or the objective is somehow secured within this hardened target. And you have to outthink it. I also think of it as like a place to shine for like utility characters and characters that are doing things other than just murdering everything. So yeah, that would be how I defined it in terms of a role-playing game. It's a situation where you're against a hardened target where you have to have some sort of tactical creativity and create your own advantage, because you just can't do it through strength and extra numbers and min-maxing.
Yeah. A lot of times there's just too many bad guys for the players to just kill everyone. Or there could be some societal reason, perhaps, if they, like, it's not just to steal an object, but to replace it with a forgery, like, let's steal the painting without letting anyone know that this.
You can't kill anyone, because they're not bad people, but you still need the thing. Like,
we're heroes.
You can kill them all. It's still on a time lock, so the bank doesn't open. You have to think your way past the puzzle in order to achieve your goal. But the puzzle is also multifaceted. It can't be like Resident Evil, put the red gem in the statue to go to the bathroom in one of their nightmare buildings. I wonder how many people piss themselves in your average Raccoon City building with all their architecture just because they can't find a bathroom in time with all the clocks and various things that have to be manipulated to open certain doors. So that would be how I define it.
Okay. Those Resident Evil matches are always fun. Like, just assemble 4 parts of this statue and and turn it 90 degrees to open the door to the
and then you two can get to the cafeteria, which means that no one ate in that building until you got there.
So I think so that's sort of the main procedural difference, is that the players in most role-playing games is, you could just, here's a challenge, just fight it or solve it and move on, and then there's no carryover, and it's always a very simple thing. I think Heists add a lot of complexity to players, because you have to keep a lot of moving parts in your head, sort of to figure out, because it's like things carry over, and if you look at heists in cinema, you have the like the Ocean's 11, like, let's just show the heist. We'll explain the heist as we're doing it, cutting back and forth in time, and dealing with a lot of these complex things. So I think maybe that's why a lot of players have a hard time dealing with heists or conceptualizing them, because they're used to every single conflict sort of is just a story beat and also like conflict, but they don't have to worry about it. Like, killing the monsters in room 1 doesn't have any carryover in room 5. Like, by the time you get maybe the adjacent rooms, there'll be some like, the monsters in the next room over will come over if they hear noise, but like, it's not like if you kill the monsters in room 1, the entire dungeon becomes alerted. You know what I mean? Like that kind of mentality. So in terms of what do you think players should first think of when they're given like a heist challenge by a GM?
When they're planning it?
Yeah. Well, like, the player, or, the GM presents some sort of conflict, says, okay, here's, let's do the painting, like, you have to swap a painting out. Like, that's the heist.
Yeah.
And so the players know if they just murder everyone in the mansion, that, like, it doesn't matter, because like, they'll no one can know that they have the real painting for whatever story reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, from a meta perspective, I think the first thing you should do as a player is like read the room, especially the GM. What kind of heist is it? Like, is the GM just wanting to see what you come up with? Well, then it's a narrative heist. Like, you got to go steal the painting. All right, where's it at? A museum. Okay. How do I replace it? Roll forgery. Like, you can be your own art, thing. Like, where are the guards? I don't know. Where's the cameras? I don't know. That's very different than there's a painting, you got to do it. It's at this location. And then if you like, what are the guard shifts? Then the GM's going to say, all right, make a roll for it. And then if you make the roll for it, the guard shifts. And that's all they say. Or how do I hack the computer? You make the roll for it. Oh, you learn how to hack the computer, or you learn where all the security cameras are. And that's extensive as the description get, right? But then there's also the heist where you're just like, all right, I want to know where all the security cameras are. And you're just like, oh, well, they run security through this building. And if you go there and make a certain check, I'll give you a map. That's a very different heist.
Okay.
So what is your GM going for? If your GM just wants you to narrate him a heist story that sounds cool, it's probably going to be the first one. If your GM wants to narrate a heist story but doesn't want to do a shit ton of prep, it's probably going to be the second one. So remember that in the second one, you're probably going to succeed if what you come up with is cool. It's rule of cool. It's probably whatever check you do is going to work out. And that would be something I do for scams and red markets. I don't have predefined things you have to do, but people are just like, could I do this and get some information about this guy and some human? I'm like, yeah, make a check. And then they do. That would be the middle ground. You want people to still be crunchily challenged so their skills come into play, not just narrating, but you also want to give them free reign. And then there's a heist that is a puzzle. When I ran that Arado heist for No Evil, I designed the whole building. I designed every securities thing. I did research and stuff. So that is you want creativity, but you want stakes because it's a legitimate puzzle that you have to turn around and think of from multiple angles. So I would think the first thing you should do as a player is kind of metagame it out and realize, what is my GM doing? So you're not just I want to find where the security cameras are, and your GM goes, okay, you know where there are, and then you keep asking for a map until he draws a map, because heists are fun because they have this procedural momentum, and anything that takes that away kind of sucks. And you also don't want to be well, here's the exact path of movements that you have to do through the laser tripwire, but each one is learned by a different cat burglar across the city. And you have to get them to learn how to do the dance of the lasers or something like that. And they've planned out some hyper thing. And then you're just no, I'm just going to wing it. What do you mean we got caught? Again, you've mistaken what the GM was giving you a heist for. They were going for clever puzzle and you went for story scene that you barge through. So I think matching the tone of what the game's going to be is important. And the other thing I see when heists go wrong for players is that they don't perspective take. They don't imagine that they're trying to protect the thing and someone's trying to get it and what they would do. They leave a corpse in the middle of the hallway and why is the guard calling the police and not coming on his regular route? There's a corpse in the middle of the hallway, man. It's oh no, he should think he's sleepy. I'm would you think he's sleepy? If I said make a perception check and you made it, I'm there is a corpse of your friend guard spooling out its blood into the hallway. And you're just oh man, better finish the path.
Yeah. It's the guards in Payday too. They see a duffel bag. They're oh, some shit's gone down. Call on the FBI.
So that hinders, I think, some people in role playing heists is that they don't take the perspective of who they're stealing from.
Yeah, I want to expand on that because I think I've seen some players who would take, I would think the easiest type of heist to play as a player, which is the narrative one, which the first one you were describing, which is the Fate kind of style of narrate some things and then spend your fate points and make a roll. But I've seen players who are unable to even conceptualize that, and I think that's sort of a key element is think of the other person. And so I think if you're a player and you're the kind of person who has a trouble how do I heist, you have to think like a thief. You have to think of how can I what is between me and my objective, and how do I get around that without alerting people? And so the museum, what is the first thing between me and the painting? The first thing between me and the painting would probably be the walls of the museum or the door. And so well, I can pick the lock of the door, but what's guarding the door? Well, there might be a security camera. Well, let's see if there's a security camera. So I think that's the thing. You have to sort of like, if you're a player and you're the kind of person who has this sort of trouble, you have to be able to think of, what is the mindset of the person guarding this? Also, what is the mindset of me trying to get through this without causing violence, without just alerting people? Like, what is the indirect method? And so I think if you're that kind of person, maybe read up on real crimes. Like, how do real world thieves do this? Read some true crime stories of real heists, and like read up the kind of things that real burglars and thieves do, and that might be helpful.
Yeah, I think that depends on your GM, right? Like, you want to know your GM. If your GM just watches heist movies and Leverage, then he probably designs his heists like he sees in media. In which case, you can use media knowledge too.
Yeah.
But if you have a GM who's a real researcher and who will go into like true crime shit, then yeah, you kind of have to figure out where their inspirations are pulled from, and then kind of counter program them in like a weird kind of meta way.
Yeah, that's counter programming. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
I think the open, like, more narrative GM heist can also be like detrimental to players who are not familiar with heist fiction as like a trope. Like, like, you know, someone familiar with heist fiction is like, okay, we're gonna need like a techie, and they need to make a gadget that allows us to get through one specific thing. And you're just like, oh, well, I'm playing Birk, and he's got this in astrophysics. So I'm an astrophysicist, so of course I would know how to bend light and make an invisibility cloak, which is bullshit. But the invisibility cloak is at least the fucking genre. You're at least playing according to the tropes, and that's what the GM's probably looking for in his narrative. But if you go for someone like who's never, you know, engaged in a story that has crime, like Aaron, because it would be sinful. I don't know. He's going to like look at astrophysicists on his sheet and be like, "Are there stars inside there?" Well, now I don't know what to do. I give up. Like, they're just going to peace out because they don't understand the level of the tropes.
I guess
one thing I think you should do as a GM and as a player and just as a person is case everywhere you enter. Am I the only person imagining robbing every place I go inside? Because I definitely do. Like, it's fun. It's way cooler than, like, I don't know, just digging around on your phone. Like, you know, look for the cameras. Like, look why aren't people stealing it right now? You know, that is something to consider. Because I'll just be baffled when players like forget that radios exist in like a modern game. Like, just like, no, we got out of there. Like, we're gone. Like, you shot everybody. Like, they're loud. Like, people call people. Like, you know, like, oh, what?
Telecommunications.
Carries. I do think that but the thing is like, I think you can train that perspective taking thing better than you can like knowledge of tropes on the fly. And I think the perspective taking thing works better if you give them some more information, but not too much. So I would say you are going to need some kind of abstraction. I think system matters in this. Like,
oh, sure.
I think it's a really bad idea to have like they trip the alarm because they failed one roll, the game is over. Like,
You don't want that kind of binary thing.
It needs to be like Sigmata, where you have like exposure points, and you don't want to reach 10 because then there's negative consequences. But you're
like
just
like a clock in an apocalypse game or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Blades
Clocks and
in the Dark
Blades in the Dark,
that.
That. I invented my own shit for Eclipse Phase because it didn't have heist mechanics. But, you know, you got to give your heist hit points, but they're solving it with skill checks and not with, you know, bashing it with a flanking bonus.
Yeah. I feel like there's also, like, again, this sort of goes back to table etiquette, reading the table. Before, as a GM or as a player, kind of like everyone should sort of gauge what everyone's level of interest and familiarity with heist would be too. So like the GM can gauge if players are all like huge fans of Leverage and, you know, Ocean's 11, that kind of thing, then they can go a little more advanced. But if nobody is, you know, I only watch tokusatsu shows. I don't know what crime is aside from evil scientists making monsters that threaten the town. So with that in mind, so keep that in mind. Or like, oh yeah, I've read every true crime novel. I know how every single real world crime world. I can tell you about types of ways to crack different safes. Oh yeah, thermal lances. That's a thing. So yeah, that's sort of an important aspect to it. But when you're talking about system matter, that also, like as a player, you have to look at what you and your other players can do, because obviously, like if your player characters are more technical oriented versus social oriented, like there's a lot of social engineering, deception in line, which is obviously, the lie is the greatest weapon. I think somebody said that once in an RPPR game.
You seem very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart person. Handsome too, I bet.
Yeah. So, but as opposed, and also combat does come in, because occasionally, like there would be the take out a single guard or a small group of guards in an ambush without alerting everybody else.
Well, like everything should come in. I mean, the purpose of heist fiction is to establish an ensemble cast and give people different spotlight time. Like, no one is interested in a one-person heist. Like, you don't like just watch the cat burglar working alone. Like, even fucking Mission Impossible movies, they don't send Tom Cruise in there by him fucking self, because like you want the hacker character. You want to show people's strengths and cooperation. So that's a GM issue. Like, if your heist is like not catered to in some degree the people you have playing your game, like what was the point? Like, they need a reason to rob the place, but they also need the ability to, and you should challenge them, but it's not the same as being like, oh, we're all fucking 40K space marines, let's go be cat burglars, and you're like trying to make the 9-foot tall guy with 8 hearts and 4 gonads or whatever shimmy through an air duct. Like that is don't just do it without consideration of who your people are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you got to give people individual spotlight time.
Yeah, and that can really matter for system too, because if you have players who are huge system mastery nerds, then you can also have a whole heist totally fucked because you're doing it in like Shadowrun, and you totally forget like one thing that your mage or adept can do.
Oh yeah. You can astral project and just read
totally.
the
Or like,
security
oh
code
god, I totally forgot my mage had this spell. Whoops, that's the entirety of this.
Yeah.
Well, that can also be a perspective taking thing on the part of the GM, because like, I admit players can like blindside you with that kind of stuff, but like the coolest thing about a heist is that it feels challenging. Like, it wasn't just a fight that you were going to randomly die. There were stakes. You could have not gotten the thing and having it on somewhere else. That's the cool part about it. But the thing is like sometimes you have to do things on the fly like a GM, and that actually helps if you do it well, because it makes the place seem like it was operating without the players. It makes it seem real. Like that's why I hate the dungeon heist analogy, because like the 40 bugbears live next to the 2 griffins from a 4-foot hallway and they never interact. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, how do they eat? Like, the ecology of it doesn't make any sense. Like, so you need like unpredictable shit to happen. That's why like in the errata heist, I had all these things that were going to pop up even if you were succeeding. Like, oh, there were children taking a tour of the place you planned to have the laser gun fight. Like, there was, you need shit that people didn't plan on to occur, because that's also part of the trope. Like, so I wouldn't worry too much about players outthinking it, because like that's the point. But you should also throw things at them, even if they did do that, to make it seem like, well, you outthinking it is the only reason it worked, because then this unpredictable thing happened. And boy, if you hadn't have done that work beforehand, it would have been tough,
Yeah, that's fair. And heists as a trope are fairly ripe for, oh, this didn't actually turn out as your prep indicated or whatever. Like, that's completely within the genre.
Yeah, like a big part of heist is the thieves trying to forecast, to predict what will happen when they do this. Like, it's not just making, okay, if I can sneak up to the door, I can pick the lock. If I can pick the lock, I can get inside. If I can do this, then I can do that. And at every step, they're assuming that no one will detect them, that certain things will or will not happen. And the more steps they go into it, the more and more assumptions they have to make, and thus the more likely they will be off. And so once they're off, then how quickly can they adapt to like, oh, the guard showed up because he forgot, his wedding ring in his locker. So he's going to get his wedding ring because his wife yelled at him for forgetting it. And or the mage used astral projection to read the post-it note in the office, but it turns out this is a haunted office and the ghosts saw the mage. And so I guess that's sort of part of the challenge of the heist, is being able to improvise in the middle of a very delicate situation and a very without it getting too out of hand. So
in my experience, you do need a quarterback. That's the unexplainable problem of a heist game. You need a player who's going to take charge as a mastermind character, and that doesn't mean doing everything, but that means we have this objective. How do we get it out? How do we maintain our different sub objectives? That kind of. They need to see that and be able to quarterback it. But the thing I see people do wrong that is preventable is that if no one is going to take the role of quarterbacking, the quarterback is you, the GM. And then you need to provide some sort of structure just to keep it moving forward.
Yeah.
So like stuff I've done, like when you guys did the errata heist, I realized everyone was going to be crippled by it. So the first thing I did was I had you find bank robbers that you took the place of. So you saw their plan. So then it became, okay, we have different skills than these guys. Which part of their plan can we take and steal? And then how do we adjust it for our particular characters? And so it gives it some structure and people are not stuck. I also think you're better off if you don't have a quarterback, just delineating the heist. This is the hall of 1,000 blows that must be gotten through. And so you just well, we don't know what's in there except the 1,000 blows. And so you give it to the strong character, and then no TACnet, you don't deal with it individually. That character alone has to figure it out. Because some people as players just will not take initiative. They will not take initiative and decide what they want to do if anyone else is there that could tell them what to do, because they're too nice or too passive or something of that regard. They have too much anxiety. So isolate them, and they will at least have to come up with something, and it'll move forward, because the goal of the heist should never be to succeed. That should be the goal for the players, but not for the GM. There should be stakes either way. You should be able, it shouldn't end the game, I don't think.
Unless it's the campaign finale.
Yeah. But if you're all in prison at the end, game over, that's not fun. I think it should definitely make something easier or harder later down the line. Because I think that's more interesting, but you should allow them to make their own mistakes, because mistakes at least move forward. Well, you shouldn't allow dithering or I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? Everyone's deciding what to have for dinner that night. Yeah. Instead of, how to rob a fucking bank.
Well, I mean, there's two things. And one, I think, going back to what we said earlier, heist should not be totally binary. You fail, you make one mistake, trigger the alarm, game over. It should be, you should have sort of a spectrum where you're trying to get the painting and do this, but maybe well, it would be okay if we burn the original painting because that had the treasure map, and we don't want the bad guy to get the treasure map or whatever.
But now we don't have it either, or we got it, but people identified us, and now we're hunted.
We took a photo of the treasure map before we burned it, but now we're being hunted, so things are more complicated. So that's a partial success. Or we got some money out of it. We maybe if it's just to steal stuff to get money, you didn't get as much as you wanted, but you got some. And I guess that's sort of, so as a GM, you should be able to do that. When you're structuring that, you should have that. And but for players, I guess another thing is how much planning do you want to devote in game to this, or in real time to figuring out the heist? Because real heists take a long ass time to plan. And you could easily spend entire sessions just planning a single heist if you wanted to.
And we have. I loved it. But that's
that's what I was gonna say. Is one thing players probably mess up if they're not used to it is just impatience. Just not doing enough prep.
Also just losing focus.
That too.
Yeah.
But if you look at the ratio of really great heist movies, it's mostly prep and then a little bit of execution.
Yeah. It's 30-minute, the first act is assembling the crew, the middle act is the prep, and the finale is the actual heist. And in chase scene denouement, or when all the thieves turn on each other.
Yeah, exactly. So you could almost, I don't know, if you're trying to get players into heist games from a prep standpoint, you could deliberately prep a more slow paced game, right? Which is kind of what you were saying in terms of taking sessions to prep, but kind of do that on purpose. Of like, you're trying to steal the painting. So the painting arrives this day, so you can do this sort of investigation. And then they're having like a VIP special showing, so you can go in case and like social engineer your way into that. And then you have to do blah 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 or something else, and sort of force them to go through the steps to learn all the prep steps for a heist, just sort of through like a tutorial type build.
Yeah, and that becomes a lot easier when you think about it in terms of like, make sure these people have something to do when the players aren't there. Like if the NPCs don't pop in the second a player arrives at their location, like a fucking waveform collapsed being observed, like they if they're doing things that would rationally be required of having this MacGuffin or taking care of it or securing it, then it's become a lot easier to like lay out sessions that sort of ramp people up, like Birk said, towards the full Monty of the heist. But again, you got to think about it like, why do they have this thing? Why do they give a shit about protecting it? How would they go about protecting it? But you should also like make it imperfect. Like there is the perfect security thing, and like you can really try that for a challenge, and it's very satisfying if they get it. But you should also acknowledge like maybe the NPCs have their own biases or their own blind spots. Maybe they don't know certain things. Maybe they don't know you have fucking magic powers, which is often the case in RPGs. Or maybe they don't trust humans, so they have all these like robotic guardians that can be hacked. Like people should have certain exploits because places do that. They expect certain things, and if they meet something outside that profile, the security's like often stymied. Like do you watch that video of that guy talking to a cop like a cop?
Yes.
No,
yes, that video is amazing.
And he like fucking brain hats that cop. Like you can watch that man you can watch the ground slip from beneath his feet when the guy just starts talking like, you been drinking today? You know, like, where you been? Like he just answers everything with a question, and like, yeah, like because the cop's not used to that security dynamic, and that's part of the heist trope. Like, oh, I'm not here to rob the place. I'm the balloon delivery guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the special occasion. How do you engage with this thing that is out of left field? Which can be really satisfying for fulfilling the genre tropes.
Yeah. That's certainly true. Like, and going back to what you were saying about like, having literal magic powers, I think one of the challenges for players is often, they're playing in a fantastical setting and they aren't as familiar with it as the GM, and they don't know, even if they are familiar with heist movies and tropes and that kind of thing, like how would, like, that was the thing with the Eclipse Phase, the Erato heist, is that Eclipse Phase is a very different setting than the real world. And how do you plan a heist with that level of surveillance and security technology out there? But also you could have the exact same thing in a fantasy world with very powerful magic. What would the security measures like that would be? So I guess another problem is, for the GM and for the players, is also to figure out what level of made up security should I be worried about? Like how do you plan a heist when you don't know how heist would work in Shadowrun or Forgotten Realms or Eclipse Phase, because there's not much to draw from. You're just sort of making it up as you go along to a degree.
The other thing is that, like, tactically, whoever's calling the shots, or hopefully the players are all contributing ideas. Like, hopefully the GM hasn't come up with every preconceived way. Hopefully there's some preconceived, like, I need an idea roll things the GM can suggest. But like the principle of a heist is it's a hardened target and people are expecting it to be attacked or stolen or in some way subverted. So like, and the purpose of it is not charging straight ahead. So like, you should be bringing stuff up as a player and asking questions. Like, and the GM should roll with it if they didn't think of it because they're playing the opposition. Like, is there a sewer? Like, are these buildings standard since this is a franchise? Could I do like the McDonald's burglar and do the same heist over and over again? Like, is there an event going on that could be a distraction? You should be. That's the best part about a heist is when the characters start adding to the setting.
Yeah,
by
I think as a player, you should literally think outside the box. Like you mentioned, the McDonald's guy, he figured out all McDonald's work with the same routine, and so he figured out how to break into one McDonald's, and then he knew how to break into all McDonald's because they were all the same. And he also figured out the way to break into it was to literally dig a hole through the ceiling because they weren't expecting that. And so there's a lot of actually like burglars. Well, they expect us to go through the door, so let's make a new door in this wall and like to do the thing that is not expected. So that's a really good point.
And are there any horrific like political rallies going on in that city that day? Like, like, oh, okay, the President Trump is doing a fucking white nationalist rally across the city, and he's advocating that every cop within the next 3 counties is going to be there. So why don't we hit it then? Like, why don't we hit it when they're very far away? That you need to be adding stuff to the setting. And now there's like a cool holiday or like this existent calendar thing that's going on in your setting that the players just sort of made up. Like,
another thing would be like, which they do in the thieves have done in the real world, which is like to keep making false alarms at a place to keep triggering alarms or to keep just until the cops and the people who live or work there get used to it and just ignore other similar events. So it's like, oh, the alarm's just faulty, it's nothing, we don't have to worry about that.
If you want to get good at it as a player coming up with stuff, you should read the Strat 4 vocabulary that they have online. Like just reading what the spy terms mean is enough to get ideas, like between pinging and hanging a jacket on somebody and all these like long-term cons.
There's a big overlap between heists and like a lot of espionage, like rescuing breaking out a spy from prison is basically a heist, or stealing documents from the embassy is a type of heist. So that's actually a good point. Yeah, look at espionage, look at spying stuff, everything from James Bond to George Smiley.
And like the thing is, like, you shouldn't have to plan heists. Like maybe your characters can come up with heists. Like I've done heist as a player in Night's Black Agents. Like I'm just like, okay, we have these objectives. How do we fulfill them in one fell swoop and not get caught doing it? And then I came up with stuff like Operation Black Dolphin, like, and that was not like a pre-designed scenario. It's just like, I want to know the answers to these questions. Here's how I think we could get it. And now we need to organize it in such a way. So that's good. Yeah. I don't understand it. The dithering is what gets me. I try not to play a character that's a mastermind sometimes because I feel like it's terrible role playing. But at the same time, like I can't stand just sitting there with everyone twiddling their thumbs. Like, well, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And so I have to do something because it just drives me nuts.
I think a lot of players are also, if you're a player, it's okay to be risk aversive to a degree. And I think that's like, no player wants to be the one who's making the really dumb decision, like going down the door that's most heavily guarded. Or, like trying to deceive or bribe the guard who is unbreakable and has a really good sense motive skill, so he's going to see right through you. So no player wants to step on the trap options, like the most dangerous ones. So I think that's part of it. They don't want to be like, I don't want to screw up. But on the other hand, like a lot of players just like, I think they just draw a blank on like what to do, and that's why we're doing this, so we can help them. But you just have to make a choice. Like you just it's all made up anyways, the dice. And, everyone's here it's a collaborative effort. So just pick a choice that you think sounds reasonable. And you can always another thing, like you mentioned, casing things. buildings, which means to like scope it out in a relatively safe manner. So like do research, like at least escalate it to agree by like, well, I'll just go to the museum as a tourist and like see what it's like. And then, I'll wear a disguise so they won't recognize me later on, but like, I'll just see what the museum's like. And that will give you some information and progress the plot somewhat, at least. So that, yeah, so like, I guess, another thing would be like, what are the worst practices for doing heists? I feel like, probably the biggest one that I see is players who, once they make a choice, they can't adapt. I think that's the other thing is like, once you make a choice, but it turns out to be bad, like you did take the trapped option, you should be willing to back away and like try something else. But a lot of players, okay, you open the door, there's like 5 guards, they have guns pointed on you. Well, let's roll for initiative. Like, run away.
Going loud.
Yeah, going loud. Yeah, but not just going loud, but like standing in an open ground and like getting shot up at multiple guards instead of like, well, I'm gonna run to the side and like hide and let them come and then set up an ambush. I'll spend some points to put the claymore behind me. But like a lot of players, like once they make a choice, that's it. Like it's done. They can't adapt. Do you have any advice for them? Yeah.
I don't know. I've never understood that sort of functional fixedness because again, I think it's perspective taking. It's a heist, so you need to attack where they're not looking. Like maybe they expect you to go loud, so go fast. Like, Heat is not exactly cat burglar. Let's go from the ceiling and pick the lock, but it's, well, they didn't expect to be hit with a stolen semi-truck in the armored van, and they didn't expect us to leave in 30 seconds. Like, you could do that, or they expect you to go loud, and they expect you to go fast, but then they expect to find you later because you outrun a radio. So then you get a patsy, you get a dupe, you spoof a terrorist organization that doesn't exist, so everyone's looking for the empty 5 or something like that. You just gotta find what they're defending against and strike where their hands aren't up. If you're a character, so like if you find that has changed, the best part about a heist in most things is that heists are the opposition is essentially reactive. They're not going to they're not hunting you until you do something. So like if you're not utilizing your time well to understand that they're going to be somewhat static until you go after them. That's why when Trump was talking about walls, they were like, yeah, we're Marines. We don't do walls because like walls are just sit inside a wall until someone figures out how to kill you inside of it. And then, it's a bad military position. You should be moving around. You should have fences. You should, it's because, when you have a fixed position, even if it's a hard point, you're just waiting for someone to be smarter than you, and they only have to be smarter once. So that's why I've never understood the functional fixedness of a lot of those sets. The benefit is always on the side of the attacker, because they only have to succeed once. That's why defense is questionable as a strategy in like cybersecurity and money and everything else. Someone's gonna figure a way to get after it. I don't know. I've never understood the functional fixedness some people have on things like that.
If you're a player, just try and like, and you catch yourself doing that, trying like, okay, like try and step outside of like, it's not a dungeon. You don't have to go. It's not a linear path. You don't have to barrel through every single thing. You can move aside and readdress, or, let's say you triggered an alarm. The cops are coming. The guards are coming, whatever, escape. Maybe they'll move it to a new place, and that new place will be easier to steal from. Or you could steal it while they're moving the painting. There are multiple options. It's not over until the GM says, until you guys run out of playing time, you quit playing the game, or your character gets killed, I guess.
Yeah, and I think on both GM and player parts, the other thing is like single points of failure. You want to engineer redundancies, like if this doesn't work, we'll do plan B. Like, and the GM, you don't want to be like, well, if they don't make this roll, campaign's over. Like you don't want that either. So you need redundancy in any level of heist. Like if you're going to have one way in, there needs to be a second way in. Like if you're going to have one way out, there needs to be another way out. If you can't go quiet, you got to be able to go loud. If you have to go loud, you got to be able to get away.
Yeah.
If the getaway, you got to plan redundancies. So
yeah, or like and let players be able to mitigate certain things. Like if they make a bad decision, let them mitigate it. Like if they go loud, like they can go fast. Like, oh no, we triggered the alarm. We have like X amount of units before the whole army shows up. So like we have like X amount of time now. Or like we planted we had a car wreck at a semi truck turned over at this key intersection at the bridge, so they can't get here right away. So we've bought ourselves some time with that.
And be prepared to walk away. I mean, that's a basic heat rule. Like, okay, they have the treasure map now, but they always use the same airline to travel. So let's just monitor where they get a ticket to, and then we can catch them while they're there. Like, you don't have to. You need to give yourself.
Yeah, that's a good way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You don't have to get there. You don't have to get there through we'll do a museum heist. It's like, I'm probably just going to talk to their travel agent and
or hack the travel agents.
Yeah,
or mind or whatever.
Why are you going to Micronesia in August? Like into this uncharted island? Like perhaps we should go there and see what's up. That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can. It's the point is to bypass, which I think some players have a good instinct not to do, because like if you make a big boss battle, it kind of sucks when your players are like, no, we don't. They can have her. I don't like hostages anyway. They're weak. We're off to the pub. Like players do that shit all the time, but in a heist, you're literally supposed to bypass challenges. Like that's literally the premise. So yeah, I might reiterate that.
Yeah. But again, as a player, just be able to think like your enemy, overcome these challenges, and be ready to. And the key is also to adapt. Like, no plan survives initial contact with the enemy, and be ready to change your mind. Like, don't commit to the death to your first decision. Like, we're going down the red door no matter what. Well, we found out the red door is a giant death trap with machine guns and ghosts. It's just awful. The red door,
pretty much.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I hope this helps for you all listening. Hopefully we'll get some Blades in the Dark games in with Caleb and some of the other RPPR cast members. If you've listened to our Scum and Villainy games, you can see how heists work in that one. They're very narrative focused, as you're just sort of like, okay, well, here's the thing, and here's your objective, and how do you solve it? The first challenge is this. How would you solve it? Well, and then the player just narrates what they think would work in that situation. So it's pretty fun. So I look forward to seeing what shenanigans you get up to in Blades in the Dark. But when we come back, we'll have some shout outs. And we're back with some great old shout outs. So, because we're watching a lot of stuff, playing a lot of games, because, reasons. Totally connected to. Yeah, anyways, moving. So,
there we go.
Yeah.
The right choice.
Yeah. I finished a novel recently called Sundown Motel. It is a ghost novel about a haunted motel, and it's very on brand for me. I quite enjoyed it. It's basically this. It's actually interesting. The narrative is split up between 1982 and 2017. 1982 is a character, Vivian, who goes to the small town because she's tired of living. She's kind of a runaway. Well, she's like 20, so and she takes a job there, and creepy things start happening. And then in 2017, her niece, she disappears in 1982 at some point, and then so in 2017, her niece comes to find the aunt she never met because and wants to find out solve this mystery. and she takes a job at the same motel, the Sundown Motel. And I enjoyed it. It got an interesting. The parallel structure is interesting. The haunting aspect is like it's a perfectly fun fun little summer read about ghosts and novels and murders, and it's, if you like ghosts, give it a shot, I guess. Burke, you had a book.
Yeah. Apropos of absolutely nothing, because I'm an apolitical gray blob, I've been reading The End of Policing by Alex Vitale, because the publisher Verso Books made the ebook free. So you can just download the Kindle version or a PDF or whatever.
Mhm.
That goes into all of why reform won't really work the way people think it will. And you need to like fundamentally examine and rearrange how policing works in our society. And it sort of does this through academic research and explaining the history of how policing came to be
Mhm.
in sort of its modern incarnation, and what we can do about it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Sounds pretty academically interesting in a
Mhm.
pure academic way.
Mhm. Yep, purely.
So, Caleb, you also had a book, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually came up with something new while we were talking that I forgot I read. That
Mhm.
is actually pretty good. I'm going to call an audible. I read a comic. It was a pretty short comic series called Sentient,
Mhm.
by Jeff Lemire. He wrote Sweet Tooth and some other pretty good comics. Sentient's like a short 4 to 6 issue run, one shot comedy series.
Mhm.
And it's pretty interesting because it's a colony ship
Mhm.
in which through, you can read this on the back of the book, so no spoilers, but in which all the adults die. So the AI that runs the ship has to raise the children of the ship
Mhm.
for like years as they're going through space. And so, and it's very interesting because it's not like the AI is evil and it's not your typical technological alarmism thing. It's like you have this sentient creature, this sentient AI creature that is meant to do very perfunctory tasks, forced into these like deeply uncomfortable situations, but it ends up being a pretty good parrot because it's researching everything. But it's pretty interesting, and pretty kind of, it gets you in the feels. So it's very good. It's a bunch of kids and their adopted computer space mom
Oh,
going through space and trying to get to a colony world. So I liked it quite a bit. Yeah,
cool.
but all the characters are children except for the AI. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I did enjoy Sweet Tooth. God, it's been so long since I read Sweet Tooth. I'm pretty sure I read to the end of it. But yeah, I kind of want to reread that now um, but yeah, I've also been playing some games. I got the recent itch.io Black Lives Matter bundle, which is of course like the best bundle in the history of bundles for video games.
yes,
It's something like $4,000 worth of video games and tabletop games
Thought
PDF.
it was close to 8 by the time it was done.
Okay, yeah, I didn't find out what the thing is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I started going through it a little bit, and I found one game that I've actually already beaten. It was pretty short, but it was fun. It's called Midnight Ultra. It's an FPS, sort of a very acid burn kind of psychedelic vibe to it, where you're this witch hunter killing cultists, and it's got very like low grade like polygons, but like this weird filters. You can choose which filter you want to choose like how psychedelic it looks. And if you like old school Quake 1 type FPSs, you would like this, as you just go around murdering cultists and weird ass monsters to like, again, sort of acid rock music. And yeah, no, I just dug the vibe and the little, like, they have these weird trippy videos in between levels and stuff that I quite enjoyed. So like if you got the bundle, I would check out Midnight Ultra if you like those kind of games. And be sure to go to options and pick out which filter setting you want, because some of them make the game harder to play because it's like, is that just is there a ledge there, or is it just like a void? I can't tell. It's all the same color. So yeah, you might want to do that. But yeah, that was fun. You guys have both been playing a game, right? Sea of something.
For all of like 2 hours.
Oh,
But yeah.
But I like it. It's fun.
Sea of Thieves.
It's
Yeah.
good. It's good to hang out with friends. It's not a good game, but it's a good space for facilitating social interactions, I suppose.
The Destiny niche.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like, I still find it way less annoying than Destiny
Okay.
thus far, but that could just be
Lower stakes, I think, ultimately.
my
lower
lack of
time investment.
8,000 hours in it.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so at Sea of Thieves, you just play a crew of 4 pirates, and you have a ship, and you go around and you do missions to try to collect treasure and bring it back to the island to sell it. It has PvE and PvP, and
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll probably get it myself so I can hang out more with y'all.
Woo,
Woo.
piracy.
But speaking of games, there's a new game show that Maddie and I binged watched yesterday. Floor is Lava on Netflix. It just came out this weekend, and it's one of those obstacle course shows. And the premise is the floor is lava, and you have to, which is like this orange liquid. They have like 80,000 gallons filling this, sound stage that they made up into a wacky obstacle course with different themes. There's like an astronomy themed one with like different planets and like rockets and things like that you jump on. And the people there are not, the contestants are not like professional athletes. They're mostly just people, just regular ass people. And it's
Who does commentating?
yeah, someone I never heard of, Rutledge something. Some bearded white guy with glasses. I don't know who. I've never heard of him before. But
I don't understand why you like that, but you don't like Holy Moly, which is
we
amazing.
did watch Holy Moly. We watched a bunch of it.
I thought you didn't care for it.
It was fine. It wasn't like we watched like 10 or 12 episodes of it. I think it was more than my Hulu subscription ran out. It was okay. I liked Beastmaster better than Holy Moly, and I like, I think the problem with Holy Moly, something about them cutting just the way they cut it, like they didn't show certain shots, or they kind of I
disagree. I disagree with the cinematography of Holy Moly. Okay. 10-4.
Oh, it could really be the editing,
Yeah. But I don't know. It's only 10 episodes for Floor is Lava, so it's like, it's not a long watch, but it is fun to watch the teams that don't use any teamwork fucking eat it, just bouncing their heads off the foam rocks or whatever, and teams with basic teamwork and coordination somehow achieve victory.
Weird.
Yeah, weird. Let's see, were there any others? Caleb?
I mean, I was going to shout out another book, but just to avoid rambling about books the whole time, I would just like to shout out the general concept of the Discord Go Live screen sharing.
Yeah,
which has gotten an immense amount of use out of us over the last few months. It's been great.
Discord is still the workhorse of the internet.
Yeah.
So if any of you have circles of friends, you can absolutely just jointly watch Netflix together and still spend time with people in a pretty satisfying way.
Yeah, if you want to check it, we do weekly live streams on the RPPR Patreon Discord. You have to be a patron to be on that Discord. But like last week, I showed my movie Motorhome from Hell. Before that, I showed Copperhead. I've also been showing like trailers of Japanese movies, like from the 70s to 80s, like Hausu and Godzilla movie trailers and stuff like that, and just chatting and hanging out with people and cast members. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And of course, yeah, we've been watching great works of art, like the entire Tremors franchise.
Yep.
It's just been wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably do that tonight at some point. Yeah,
I think it's gonna be Aquatine if we watch tonight. We were talking a lot about Aquatine earlier.
Aquatine, I would dig
good.
Aquatine. We'll talk about it after we record. Caleb, do you have any more shout outs?
I was actually going to shout out one thing because I don't know how much crossover there is between the Mix 6 and this, so people might have missed it. But the King's Dilemma, if you're into role-playing games, is a very good board game role-playing game middle space, in my opinion, because there's a lot of opportunities for in-character interaction and speechifying, but it has enough mechanical crunch that there are some like interesting tactical considerations in making these political decisions and then foisting the responsibility of them off on your fellow players through, sort of alliances and backroom dealings. For me, it's like if diplomacy was less cutthroat, more variable, and actually had a story. Like if you stapled a copy of Diplomacy and simplified the rules and made it part of a choose your own adventure novel. So I would recommend it because I think it's not easy, but it's functional to facilitate it with a Google sheet, and it's a campaign you can run that's not that you pay $80 for, and you don't have to write anything.
Yeah,
you just get to hang out with your friends and get a fantasy story.
Go on our Discord, and I can send you the links to the videos that explain how to run it online. I've been in the game, and it's been a lot of fun. And yeah,
Birk as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I would check that out. Yeah, it does hit that sweet spot between board game and role playing game, where there's a little bit for the hardcore board gamers and role players. So. Yeah, it's definitely been fun to play. I look forward to our next game, whenever that is. Yeah, cool. Well, this has been episode 178, Heists 101. Thank you all for listening. I am at Ross Payton on Twitter. Caleb, how can people find you on the social medias?
I am at Hebanon G Cal. You can also contact me through the Red Markets RPG.com website. So,
and Birk, how can people?
Sure, on Twitter at Birk Mick Birkinson. You can find me there. Also at Night Clerk Radio if you want to check out everything we're doing over there. So definitely hit me up.
Yeah, we're getting more episodes of Night Clerk Radio out. Just hitting all the big subgenres of vaporwave. So we're also going to pretty soon do an episode on hauntology, and we have good stuff planned. So if you want to get some new music to listen to while you're
there's no time for music,
just vibing, there's time for it. There's always time for vaporwave. Just check out our podcast. Anyways, thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.